Should Christians date non-Christians? And what does it really mean to be unequally yoked? If you've ever had this question about Christian dating, then stay tuned. Hey guys, my name is Justin, and I want to welcome you to That Christian Vlogger, a place where you get to join me and experience faith in the first person. I make videos on practical subjects like Christian dating, or what does it really mean to live life as a Christian, every single Monday and Thursday, so definitely consider subscribing. Also, if this is the first video in the series on Christian dating that you've seen, there will be a link to the entire playlist at the very end of this video, so that way you can check out all the rest of the videos that we have in the series. But let's go ahead and get started. So what does it mean to be unequally yoked? Is that like when you skip leg day too much, or what exactly is it? No, not quite. The concept of unequally yoked marriage or an unequally yoked relationship comes from the verse found in 2 Corinthians 6:14, which says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness?" This verse is often applied to the whole Christian dating scene as a way for parents to make sure that their kids don't date non-Christians. But there are a few problems with this whole idea. Problem number one, the Bible doesn't actually talk about dating, like not even once. There is not a single verse in the Bible that talks about dating at all. Why? Because dating actually never existed back in those days. And problem number two, this verse never once mentions the word non-Christian. I've heard dozens of times people trying to use this verse to apply it to non-Christians, but the fact is that this isn't really what the verse is saying. So before I share with you what I think this verse is actually saying, let me just try and share a few words to the counterpoint. I get why some parents and some pastors are so quick to make this point about not dating non-Christians. For those of us who are genuine followers of Christ, our faith is absolutely central to who we are. You see, faith in Christ isn't meant to be on the same level as being, say, a fan of a particular sports team. I might root for Team Jesus and then you root for Team Darwin or something like that. A relationship can still be healthy and fulfilling even if you both happen to root for opposing rival teams. Or perhaps one of you guys likes chocolate and then the other one likes vanilla more, then there's really no problem. In these areas of life, it's totally okay for there to be these types of differences. In fact, I've seen relationships work where one is, say, a Democrat and the other is, say, like a Republican, because as a general theme in life, being able to agree to disagree with those that you love is a worthy and valuable trait to have. I would even go as far to say that this quality is absolutely necessary for a healthy and a vibrant relationship in general. However, faith and trust in Christ is different, or at least it really should be different. To those of us who are true believers in Christ, our faith is much more than one of the dozen or so labels that we happen to identify ourselves with. It's much more than a 1-hour commitment every single weekend. Being a disciple of Christ means that above all, we value the words and teachings and example of Jesus. These things inform the very lens through which we happen to see the world, and it changes our values, our priorities, and even our very purpose in life. Ending up married to someone who doesn't happen to share this commitment will mean that there's an entire aspect of who you are that this other person will never be able to relate with. There's going to be an entire realm of intimacy that you could actually never share with this special person. And yes, even if they are supportive of you in your faith during the dating process, it will present its challenges if things remain that way in the long run. You see, whether it's on issues on things like tithing or how you raise your kids or regular church attendance or even like the role of sex in a relationship, chances are that you will see things differently. As if the divorce rate wasn't already high enough, and as if you didn't already have the deck stacked against you for a happy and healthy marriage, you want to try to further complicate things by marrying someone whose entire life philosophy is different than yours? I don't know, maybe you're smarter and wiser than I am, but that would just be too hard for me to do. So anyways, what does it actually mean to be unequally yoked? I highlighted two mistakes in applying this verse towards dating in general, and especially dating the non-Christian. And I want to add that applying this verse in only this specific way is much too narrow-minded. It's not as though that just because you happen to claim the title Christian that you're all of a sudden magically on the same level as everybody else who happens to consider themselves to be Christian as well. It is entirely possible to be unequally yoked with a fellow Christian. In fact, I've in the past been on both sides of the equation of this. I've been both the person who happened to be more spiritually committed as well as the person who happened to be playing games with God. And trust me, neither one of these types of relationships are the kinds that you want to be in. They're annoying and difficult in so many ways, and both times they've led to some pretty massive heartache and disappointment. The reality is that amongst the body of believers, there are people with vastly varying commitment levels to Christ, as well as very different theological views. This is why I don't think that simply saying that this verse means that you shouldn't date non-Christians is so narrow-minded. Yeah, finding a fellow Christian is important, but more important than that is finding someone who you could actually be equally yoked with. Finding someone who shares your philosophy on life and has a similar interpretation of the scriptures is so important. But more importantly than that, you want to find someone who is just as committed as you are to following Christ and is intent on living a life of obedience to Him. Spend your life running your fastest and your hardest towards Christ. Give Him your first and best in everything that you do. And while you're running, look to your left and then look to your right. And if you don't see anybody then, don't worry, it's okay. Just keep running towards Christ. It might just be a few weeks or maybe a few months or even years, but before you see someone, just focus on running towards Christ. Because someday as you're running, you're gonna notice someone running alongside you, heading in the same direction and at the same speed. In my opinion, that's the person you want to pay attention to. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And if you haven't yet, definitely consider subscribing because I make videos every single Monday and Thursday. But until next time, I'm that Christian vlogger, and I want to encourage you to experience faith in the first person. God bless.